Everyone.
Hello there.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So what is the format? I supposed to give you an introduction of type of research we are doing, or that's it, right? Okay, I'm going to share with you some of the slides we used in MATC meeting before. So just give you a glimpse of what we are doing, the type of project at the MATC from Missouri University of Science and Technology. Now, this is a report I prepared quite a while ago, but the type of project is basically still similar. We have a multi-year project. So this is a whole list of the project we had started like 2 or 3 years ago. And many of them we are expanding to the latest, adding component, but the basic component is remain the similar. So for example, I'm going to go through a little bit detail about different projects, but give you a snapshot. The first one is focused on multi-hazard mitigation of bridges, specifically under earthquakes and tsunamis. The second one is a focus on the bridge condition evaluation under fire condition, and it could be caused by the spilling of a fuel tank on highway bridges. And the next one is retrofit and corrosion behavior of H-piles for bridges. And then the next one is earthquake-induced damaged bridges. And then the following one for work stone, analyzing the safety pattern from surveillance video tapes. And then we have more data analytics to understand the human behaviors in response to the safety management for hazardous material transport, and then also the standardized safety index and safety upgrade for railway. So this will give you a snapshot. In general, Missouri University of Science and Technology is focused on the safety of infrastructure side. And we have a few focus on soft engineering, but more on hard engineering. Because some of you may know Missouri University of Science and Technology is primarily a technological engineering school, basically college. So we are focusing a lot more engineering side. I'm going to skip all this MATC components, so you know already from Dr. Riley's presentation from the previous section, but just give you a little bit more meat. What we are talking about different project is the first one is multi-hazard mitigation. So this is the summary of what we are trying to do back in 3 years ago. So based on the trip I have made with the United States Department of Transportation and post-earthquake, particularly Chile earthquake in 2010, I believe, we observed that the current practice in the US for bridge design with end diaphragm certainly works very well. But there are bridges without diaphragms in the bridge structure, like this one. The diaphragm means the cross member between two longitudinal beam. You can see there's a cross member here and here, but this one doesn't have a cross member between longitudinal beam. And we observe from the site visit, without diaphragm, they only have a so-called concrete key or teeth to restrain the horizontal lateral movement of this beam. It works equally effective. So, and then this is from the Hurricane Katrina. I was part of USGS reconnaissance team. We also found the floating effect due to the water or air trapped underneath the bridge deck. Because you have an end diaphragm, it's like a box, it's like a cup upside down. When you water, floating, raising up, air underneath the deck is trapped there. effectively reducing the gravity effect so that the bridge will be floating. And because of this observation in the field condition, we propose the smart shear key to handle. In a simple term, we would like to invent a new key and place on the structure, like on the beam next to this longitudinal beam, to control the force and displacement in a controllable way. We can regulate the force and displacement in the controllable fashion so that the bridge will not experience excessive size displacement like this one during hurricane, or exert a significant force during earthquake load. So we can tackle earthquake and tsunami load simultaneously by managing the control of force and displacement. That's what this project is about. And these are 5-year long-term goal and relevance. And the second one is a focus on the fire condition assessment. You all know the I-85 bridge fire in Atlanta area, and in California area, there's bridge fire as well, causing the collapse of a portion of highways. So what we are trying to do is there any way we can develop a post-fire assessment procedure so that engineer can use that right after a fire event to see if they can open up the traffic if the bridge are still in good shape. But to do that, we have to understand the in situ condition in fire. And it happens in the current state of art or state of practice. Even in laboratory, we are not able to measure strain very well. So I have also a project with NIST, National Institute of Standards and Technology, from their measurement science program, trying to invent the sensing technology to monitor the strain condition of a structure in fire, during fire. Because the temperature could be 800 degrees C, 1000 degrees C or above, the condition is very, very harsh for any sensor to survive. And that's the reason why we don't have a good measurement tool to understand the strain or stress condition of bridges yet in fire condition. So we hope we can further develop this sensing technology to help us to monitor the stress condition while bridge is in fire, so that we can tell engineers what kind of residual strength this bridge has after the fire has been extinguished, so that they can make a decision whether they can open up bridge right away or not. So the other project is targeted on a serious problem in the nation. Most of bridge crossing the river, the old bridge especially, they use H-piles, steel piles. And you can imagine if a steel is in the middle of a river or whatever creek, the corrosion will happen severely. You can see here in this area, all these are corroded. Even there's a hole here in the middle, you can see it. So this project is trying to develop a technique to repair and retrofit the corrosion problem like this most effectively. So we don't, for example, we can just wrap some concrete layer on existing column, and we don't have to spend a lot of time to clean up surface, but do minimum quick cleanup and then rapid concrete layer and rapid setting of concrete to increase the strength so that we can put the bridge back in operation right away. But hopefully that concrete covering will prevent the pile from further corrosion over years. That's what this project is about. And these are some test results. Basically, we are doing computationally and also experimentally. So that's this project. And the other project is...
Dr. Chen, sorry, I'm going to have to interrupt you. We have to move you on to the next room so we can keep on schedule.
Oh, okay. All right, that's fine. So I'll just give you some sense if you have any question, but just you can email me. I hope in the program you can find my email address.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
So hello to everyone. So this is the Education Expo, the Graduate Expo. I didn't have a lot prepared in terms of here's the opportunities. What I really want to do is have more of a Q&A on anything that you've heard or learned about in the last few sessions. I'll be happy to talk about it. I'd be happy to talk about grad school at UNL or grad school anywhere. So does anyone have any questions for me on applying or being successful at grad school? Well, so I'll ask you questions then. So the intent of the Scholars Program is really to get students some background information and understanding of grad school, not necessarily to convince you that you need to go to grad school, but give you enough information to make a choice. So did you feel that the Scholars Program achieved that? Do you think you have a good understanding of applying to grad school and being successful at it?
I definitely feel, oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Melinda.
Okay. I definitely feel like I'm more knowledgeable on the topic, and I feel like there's not that many resources that allow us to understand the entire process for grad school. It's normally just, you kind of just go for it. If you want it, you know you want it or not. So I definitely think that this program helped me understand the different options in grad school, how to get there, different techniques, what to look for, what not to look for. So I found it very beneficial.
Great, thank you. And I think someone else said was going to answer as well. I wasn't. So Melinda, are you planning on going to grad school, or are you going to go work? What's your current thoughts?
I initially, coming into this program, I initially just wanted to go straight to work. But now I kind of just want to start deciding whether it's like working a little bit, what discipline I want to go into, but I definitely want to go to grad school now. It
Great.
Changed my opinion on it, and I'm excited to start applying.
Yeah. Well, good. Yeah. For me, when I was in all of your positions, I can guarantee you up until probably my beginning of my senior year, I essentially, if you would have asked me, I said, I'm going to work. I mean, there was just no doubt. I went to get an engineering degree so I could get a job. And the first time someone said you should go do a grad degree, I said, that's nice, but I'm going to get I already have a job, so I'm all set and I'm going to start my career. But I was fortunate in that I was on a co-op program, and I ended up doing a co-op term at a university, actually in a research lab. And that sort of convinced me to continue on to do my master's. And then I was going to stop. I wasn't going to do a PhD. I was just going to do a master's. And I thought that would be beneficial. And the reason I point that out is, I understand the thought process, but I also think that one of the things you heard was the ability to get internships. So working for government or consulting. You should also consider getting internships at universities. Our program is called the Intern Program at MATC. I can be happy to share that. We can come and work in our labs. Sometimes they're called research experience for undergrads. But it's a great way to learn about a school. So if you're interested in going to a school, as I said earlier, they will pay you to come out and visit for a week or two, or for a day or two. But if you can go work at that school or in that lab that you're considering for 8 weeks, 10 weeks, you really get to know the school, the city, the environment, the other grad students, and really see if that's a good fit for you. So that's another strategy you might want to consider. Has anyone worked at a university over the summer? Just out of curiosity. Well, there's lots of opportunities for doing that. So I'd encourage you, if you're looking for summer work, that's something you could apply for. It's a great way to go to a different university and get a different experience than your home university. And the nice thing is it's only 8 or 10 weeks, so it's not like you're committing for a year or 2 years. It's just a summer or a work term type thing. So I'll ask, so what was the most surprising thing that anyone found out from the Scholars Program? I'm kind of curious in that.
I wasn't aware that there were all the different ways to have your degree paid for. I had never heard of fellowships and things like that. So, because I always thought that if I wanted to go to graduate school, I was going to have to either pay out of pockets or get, subsidized loans. So it's really great to hear all those financial options that I would have if I choose to go to grad school.
Yeah, and I would agree. When I was in your position, I didn't understand it either. I mean, I just assumed you always paid, right? I paid for undergraduate, I'm going to have to pay for graduate. Certainly going to law or med school, you're going to pay, right? It's going to cost, an MBA. It's very rare to get those paid for. But for STEM and, other programs, it's a lot more common than anyone thinks. I don't think that I've had a grad student in the last 20 years that paid their own way. It's just a really good opportunity if that's something you want to do, that there's lots of funding out there at the different universities, both scholarships and RAs, as you learned about. So any other surprising things from people?
I didn't really have a surprising thing, but I was just going to ask, personally, what's your biggest, I don't know the word for it, but why are you happy that you went to grad school? Rather, why should I be happy to go?
That's an excellent question. And I came from a background where none of my family went to university, none. Okay, I was one of the first. My sisters went, who were older than me, and then I went to university. And we thought we go to university to get a job. That was essentially it. If you had told me that my job right now is a job when I was a kid, I would have laughed. It just had never occurred to me. A job is something you do and you get it paid, and then you go do something that makes yourself enjoyment. So for me, becoming a teacher and being able to do interesting research, novel things, always doing new things, helping out people, solving problems at a high level, that's what made me really happy. I never occurred to me this was a job. That's why I like the job I have, because every day is different. We're always looking at problems and how to solve them. And to do that, you really need a high technical level, which a master's and a PhD will give you. And that's my story on why I like it. Even to this day, when I go home and see my family, I'm from Canada originally, and we go to family reunions, and I describe what my job is. Most of my cousins who didn't get universities are always like, "That's not a job," and I'm like, "Yeah, I know it's not a job, because what I have, I don't consider a job. I'm very fortunate. I get to get paid to do what I like." So that's a long answer to a short question, but for me, that's why I like it. You can do some really interesting things that help people. And I would not have been able to do that with a bachelor's. I still could have done it. I could have had a great career and a great life, but you can do a lot more with advanced degrees. Like this program, right? This would be impossible to do if I had just a bachelor's and working at a consulting firm or a government agency.
All right, thanks, Larry. I'm going to move you on to the next room.
Great, thanks, Larissa. Thanks, everyone. We'll be looking forward to see your responses on the reviews. Thanks.
Thank you.
So I'll say, hey, good morning to everybody. It's still morning. And congratulations for still being on. I heard you've been on since 9 o'clock in the morning. So a Friday morning dedicated to all this. I'm impressed. So, like I said to the other two groups, I can try to keep this more interesting to you in the sense that I'm not going to bore you to death with a PowerPoint presentation, but rather what I would like it to be is more, let me respond to the questions that you have, and then I can fill in a lot of details as I do that. So let me start this by just asking, how many have been thinking about going to grad school? Okay, so again, three, 4 people here. That's great. What have you been thinking about? What are you looking for in a graduate program? So look, I guess I could be more specific. That was a general question. Are you looking for a master's degree? You thinking of PhD degrees?
Masters.
Okay, a master's.
Yes, masters for now.
Master's, great. Good. And so when you're thinking of master's, are you thinking more like a research-based degree or a project-based degree? It's project?
Yeah, probably more so project.
Okay. Okay, so at the University of Iowa, our master's program, like many others, we have 2 tracks within our master's program, the thesis and the non-thesis. When you apply or when you come into the program itself, you select one or the other. And really the only difference is the types of courses that you are expected to take. Okay, so both of the degrees require 31 credits for graduation. Okay, so the project-based, so the non-thesis-based starts with 10 courses. So of the 10 courses, 5 are required core courses. 1 course is in communication and 1 course is in ethics. And then you have the rest of the courses that are electives, where part of that is you doing a project. Now the projects themselves, what we do as a faculty is we have students generate those project ideas. Now many of our master's students that are in the project track, they are working full-time or part-time in practice. So a lot of times they'll come in with a project that they currently are working on in their office that needs more work than, let's say, a typical project or a typical job that they're doing. So what we do there is we work with the students to form a project for credit. Okay. The thesis side, instead of doing that project, we have 2 courses, or we require 6 hours of research for those. Now, when you are looking at the University of Iowa, what you'll see is we have 4 areas that we specialize in. So transportation, structures and materials. The 3rd one is environment, and the 4th is water resources. Now, what we're really dedicated to at the university is interdisciplinary work. So let's say if you were interested in coming in for transportation, but you also said, I'm really interested in the hydraulics and hydrology side of things. What we do is we blend the 2 together. So we'll have courses that you would take in both transportation and hydrology and hydraulics, and then we'll work to make sure that you're getting your interests satisfied. We also look that you could go outside the college. So I do a lot of work on decision analysis and financing. So my students will take courses from the business college and psychology to kind of round out their education in that case. Yeah.
Is that in a master's in engineering? Like you can do psychology? Oh, that's interesting.
Yes. Yes, so you would graduate with an MS in engineering. So the yeah, so if, so you definitely, if you're interested in kind of blending those things, you just start with your faculty advisor, and then you work out that program. In the past, what we've had is students that are interested in computer science. So we blend the master's in engineering with computer science. So somebody walks away. For my work in autonomous vehicles, that's very helpful. So you can see a very nice blend there. Talk a little bit about our requirements. So they're not many. There's actually just one. That is, you have to have a GPA of 3.0 or greater. Now, if you have a GPA of 2.8 or higher, we could petition the graduate college to allow that. So if you came in with a 2.9, we could try to get a waiver from the grad college to allow you to come in. Okay. As of about a month ago, we dropped the requirement for GREs. So a GRE is not required to be admitted into the university or into the college of it. Let me back up. It's got to be more specific. It's not required to be admitted into the Department of Civil and Environmental Engineering. Okay. So that change will be effective with the next round of applications. If you students who are English is not their first language, they will also have to take TOEFL, but I don't remember what the TOEFL score would be. But in those cases, yeah, it's really just that 3.0 or higher works well. All right. Any other? Yeah. Go ahead.
I have a question. It's not really necessarily about the grad program, but I asked it to the last speaker. What's your favorite thing about having your master's degree, your graduate degree? And do you know what the benefit of having a PhD is outside of education?
Oh, great question. So, my master's degree, my first master's degree, I completed it when I was working full time. And that, what opened up the doors for me at that moment was I was looked at as the person who would get more of the interesting type of design work in that firm, because here's my personal take. When I first started as an undergraduate, or after my bachelor's, and I started working, after about 6 months, I said, "Is this it? This is all I'm going to be seeing as, let's say, in the design world." And that I looked and I said, if I had a master's degree, I would have more opportunities to do more interesting things. So that's opened up the door, or that was a positive for me to get the master's, and I like that a lot. I bit the bug, or I got the bug of education after that, and then that's when I did a second master's and my PhD. So the benefit there, it's a little bit difficult for me to say outside of the education and research world. I'm looking at my colleagues of some friends who are not in academics and have PhDs, but where they're working are in think tanks, like for Rand Corporation. So it's the private sector that does research and publishes and answers some very interesting questions, but they do not do any education, so they don't have students. They're not teaching courses. So that would be a benefit, at least within the field that I'm aware of, is getting into more of those private research firms and foundations.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, so it looks like, so if you do have any other questions, I think you probably could find my contact information from the handouts here. Don't hesitate to email, or we can set up a Zoom call if you wanted to.